Before the university entrance exam, I fell ill. After a month of dragging me to every possible doctor, my mother finally had enough. She grabbed a few sets of clothes, stuffed them into a suitcase, and hauled me into the car. I slumped like a sack of mud in the back seat. Mum gripped the wheel, muttering as she drove. A girl's already at a disadvantage in school, has to work twice as hard as a boy. Weaklings like you, what can you even do? Humph, always whining about your depression coming back. What, you gonna say the same thing to your future boss? I couldn't say a word. She caught my blank expression in the rearview mirror and snapped, "Oh, now you're mad, giving me the silent treatment. I'm your biological mother, you know, who hasn't been scolded while in school." She was referring to what happened a few days ago in class. My mum was also my homeroom teacher and the math teacher. That day she called on me to answer a question. But I was seriously ill, my mind in a fog, almost completely unable to focus. I was listening to the lecture like my brain had shut off, just processing sounds mechanically. She knew this, but still deliberately made me stand up to answer. I couldn't say anything. She marched down from the podium, sternly holding out her hand. "Give me your hand." I raised it. Smack! The ruler came down hard on my palm. It hurt so much I yanked my hand back. She got even angrier. "Who told you to pull away? Put it back. The law forbids hitting students, but it doesn't say I can't discipline my own daughter." And so I became the only student in the entire school to be honored that way. Under all those watching eyes, the ruler kept slamming down on my hand. Some people sneered, some pitied me, some just watched for the drama. She glared at me. "Can't focus? Then stand and listen, not just this period you're standing all day. Let's see if that doesn't knock some sense into you." My eyes burned red. My hands stung. The next day, I turned in a blank paper for the placement test. When she found out, my mother stayed up all night. At dawn, she made her decision. "Don't blame me for being cruel. I'm an outstanding teacher. This year, a few of my students are aiming for Tsinghua and Peking University. I can't waste time just because of you. Go live with your father. If you don't take the exam this year, fine. Next year, I'll help you study again." The car stopped in a strange neighborhood. She yanked the suitcase out of the trunk. "This is your father's new place. Room numbers on this slip of paper. Go up yourself." Seeing me frozen in place, she added, "It's fine, someone's definitely home. Just ring the bell. Your father's new wife's a nice girl, doesn't work, stays home to care for the baby." Even though she tried to hide it, I could still hear the disdain in her voice. With that, she got back into the car and drove off. I suddenly called out, "Mum, did you check my medication?" "Yeah, it's all in your backpack. Don't forget to take it. Anyway, remember to behave in someone else's house." Before she even finished, exhaust fumes blasted straight into my face. I followed the address upstairs and knocked on the door. The moment it opened, I froze. My mum always said Dad's new wife was a good girl, so in my head I imagined some sly, glamorous woman like in the movies. But the one who opened the door was a short woman, her shirt stained with oil hair. Uncombed, something crusted at the corner of her eye, she looked suspicious. She gave me a once-over, then jerked her chin. "What are you standing there for? Grab a bowl and eat. The pink one's yours." She told me to call her Aunt Xiao Xiao. I stood awkwardly on the carpet, glancing around. The house was clean, but far from tidy. Toys scattered all over the living room. A little girl, about 4 or 5 years old, sat on the floor, hugging a massive teddy bear. She looked at me, half curious, half cautious. I understood immediately this was Dad and Aunt Xiao Xiao's daughter, my half-sister, Cheng Nuan Nuan. Nuan Nuan pointed at me. "Mum." Aunt Xiao Xiao peeked her head out of the kitchen and frowned when she saw me still standing. "What, planning to marry that carpet or something? Go grab a bowl already." I walked to the kitchen cabinet to find dishes. There were 4 sets, only the pink one was brand new but not dusty, clearly washed regularly. While eating, Nuan Nuan tried a few times to talk to me, but I couldn't get a word out. She scratched her head and tried to help me out. "Maybe she's sad today. Maybe she didn't get to eat ice cream." "Mom." Aunt Xiao Xiao cut her off coldly. "She can eat. You can't. Someone ate 2 sticks of ice cream yesterday. Liar." After the meal, she hesitated a bit, then handed me a small stack of tissues. Nuan Nuan looked up at me, eyes full of curiosity, and continued, I heard people with this illness don't like talking much. If you want to say something, can you write it down for me? I froze, staring at the stack of paper the little girl handed me. A storm of emotions welled up inside. Since I got sick, saying a single sentence felt like draining every last drop of energy from my body. But my mum reacted the opposite. She insisted that the less I wanted to talk, the more I had to. She'd pretend not to understand my written notes and force me to speak even when I was exhausted to the bone. So, it turns out, there are gentler, more effective ways to communicate. She just never cared to try. That night I slept in my half-sister's old room. My phone rang, it was Mum calling. A wave of irritation rose inside me. I instantly hung up and sent a text. If you have something to say, text me. I really don't want to talk on the phone. On the other end, typing. But in the end, no message came. A while later, the phone started ringing again non-stop. I hung up several times, but she kept calling. Eventually, I gave in and picked up. Her voice was brimming with excitement. That's right. The less you want to talk, the more you should practice. Talk more and you'll get better. You're the daughter of Chen Yue. How can you just give up? I spoke wearily. What did you call me for exactly? Hearing me speak, she immediately lit up. I've sent you some practice tests. Do them in the next 2 days. In class, Shen Zhen got a top score 678. You weren't any worse than her before, I said quietly. Didn't you say I could retake the exam next year? Her tone instantly turned sour. I agreed to let you rest for a year, but that doesn't mean you get to be lazy. You have more time than everyone else, so you should do even better. People who slack off like that are a lost cause. On the other end, Mum kept rambling, but none of it was sinking in anymore. I felt suffocated. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I even wanted to jump out the window. But in the end, I only asked quietly, Mum, did you check my medication? Maybe she didn't hear clearly. She just replied vaguely, Let's not talk anymore. I need to prep my lesson plans. Don't forget to do the tests. Then she hung up. My whole body felt drained of energy. I collapsed onto the bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. Beside me was the bottle of pills. She never realized I'd been secretly stockpiling the sleeping meds the doctor prescribed. Now the bottle was full. In truth, the psychologist once warned her that my condition was unstable and she needed to monitor my meds closely. But she never did. I didn't bother getting water. I swallowed them dry one by one. My thoughts grew hazy. I figured, at the moment a life ends, there should be at least a few tears to mourn a life so poorly lived, but my eyes were bone dry. Nothing came out. Instead, one pill got stuck in my throat. I gagged, trying to cough it up. Just then, the door slammed open. Xiao Xiao rushed in. I frowned in annoyance, thinking, how annoying. Looks like I failed to die again. I'll have to start over from scratch. But what surprised me was she didn't scold me, didn't panic. She just dashed over and pulled me into her arms. Her voice shook, but every word was steady. Noan, can you hold on a little longer? If it's really too painful and you truly can't go on, I won't call an ambulance. But if even a tiny bit of you still wants to live, then please, heaven, don't take her away. I stared at her stunned. From her round face, a single tear fell right into the corner of my dry eye. I broke down sobbing. With everything I had, I forced myself to gag, to vomit out the pills. At the same time, Xiao Xiao was already calling emergency services. When I woke up, I was already in the hospital. An IV drip was running potassium sharp and icy as it coursed through my veins. But my hand felt warmth. I turned my head. There was Xiao Xiao sitting at my right side, one hand scrolling through some silly short videos, the other gently massaging my arm. On my left was Dad, who had just ended a business trip and rushed home early. It had been a long time since I'd last seen him. When he noticed I was awake, he frowned as if he wanted to scold me for acting impulsively. But before he could speak, Xiao Xiao smacked him on the head. "Think carefully before you say anything." Dad immediately shut up, then gently patted my head. "From now on, how about living with me and Xiao Xiao?" "Okay," I was stunned. Mum had always said Dad was blinded by pig fat, that despite being a top overseas graduate, he married someone rough and low class like Xiao Xiao. She insisted he must have been hexed or something. But now, I was starting to understand why Dad chose her after the divorce. After I was discharged, Xiao Xiao declared decisively no college entrance exam this year, and if you don't want to take it next year either, that's fine too. She complained to Dad while speaking, "You make more money, I'll spend less, we'll save up something for the girls, and we still have this apartment." One day, I overheard her talking with Noan. "Before Mum told you it was fine even if you weren't a great student as long as you're a good person. Anyway, this apartment will be yours in the future. But now things are different. Do you think your sister needs a place to stay too? So, we might need to split the apartment, give her half." I heard Xiao Xiao's words to Cheng Noan. Noan bit her finger and thought for a while, then slowly said, "Then I'll live in half the apartment. She gets one half, I get one half." At that moment, it felt like someone had slapped me awake. Dad was never wealthy. This apartment was just a regular 2-bedroom unit. Before Dad and Xiao Xiao shared a room and Noan had one, it was just right. But after I moved in, they gave me my own room. All 3 of them squeezed into a single room. When sleeping, they had to lie sideways across the bed. And since the bed wasn't big enough, they placed chairs at the foot of it to rest their legs. Yet, not once did they complain in front of me. I felt ashamed of myself. "Sheng Tan, how could you be so selfish?" That night I announced I want to go back to school. I want to take the college entrance exam. Dad brought me back to school. First thing, take a placement test for class assignment. Even though I'd been out of school for a while, my foundation was still solid. I could answer most of the questions. After reviewing my test, the principal decided to place me in rocket class. I frowned, because my mum was the homeroom teacher of that class. I asked to be placed in class 2, saying I didn't want to study in rocket class. The principal looked surprised, but agreed, "I'll speak with the homeroom teacher of class 2. For now, you can stay in rocket class temporarily. Every minute in senior year counts. Once things are arranged, we'll switch you over." When I walked into the classroom, it happened to be Mum's math period. My appearance brought the whole class to a momentary silence. Mum looked at me. Her eyes clearly showed fatigue. "Mum, out of allowance again. Transfer me some on WeChat later. Just head home. Now I'll visit on the weekend." I pulled a chair into the class, calmly said, "I'm here to study." Mum frowned, her voice low but stern. "Who let you use connections to get into rocket class? I hate favoritism the most." I didn't respond. Silently took my seat. With no other choice, she sighed. "I don't have time to argue with you. If you want to study, then study." There was no denying my mum was a great teacher. Her teaching style was both clear and engaging. Except for how harsh she was with me, she was considered a fantastic teacher by other students. At that moment, she took out a few neatly packed lunchboxes. "Knowing you all don't like cafeteria food, I made 5 portions of sushi myself today. Whoever solves the problem on the board gets 1. The cafeteria food really wasn't good. I had once asked Mum to bring me food. She said, "Go without for a year. After that, eat whatever you want." Right now is the final stretch. No senior has time to cook. I eat at the cafeteria too. And yet now she was using her homemade meals as rewards for others. I couldn't help it. The corner of my mouth lifted slightly, mocking. Mum noticed immediately, called out, "Sheng Tan, come up and solve this. You're in rocket class now, so this kind of question shouldn't be hard for you." I stood up, trying to work through the problem, but Mum kept hovering beside me, her eyes glued to the blank scratch paper. Then she burst into loud laughter. My mind went blank. All the scolding she had given me in the past flashed before my eyes like a slideshow. 5 minutes later, I lowered my head and sighed. I can't solve it. Mum looked like she had just won a battle. Without letting me sit back down, she turned and said, Shenzhen, come solve it as an example for Sheng Tang Tang. Shenzhen was the top student Mum always praised. She ranked first in the placement exam and sat right in front of me. She hesitated for a second, then gently said, Sorry, Miss Chen. I'm not too sure about this one either. Could you please explain it, liar? I had just seen her scratch paper covered in equations with the correct answer circled in red pen. But Mum didn't care. She walked up to the podium and began teaching. A loud voice rang out clearly. Oh my goodness, it's almost 12:30. Aren't these kids planning to eat? It was Xiao Xiao. She stood at the classroom door holding an enormous bag. The moment Mum saw her, her expression darkened. What are you doing here? Xiao Xiao didn't answer right away. She simply walked straight toward me and said nonchalantly, bringing lunch for her. What else? Haven't you ever brought food for your own kid? I froze. Xiao Xiao's house wasn't exactly close to school. I hadn't expected her to go out of her way just to bring me lunch. As she unpacked each box of food, she smiled warmly at the classmates nearby. You're Than Tan's classmates, right? Here I made popcorn chicken and crispy fried enoki mushrooms today. Best eaten while hot. At first, the others were shy, softly declining. But after a whole morning of class plus Mum stretching out the lesson, everyone was starving. In less than a minute, the delicious aroma spread, making it impossible to resist. Thank you, Auntie. Thanks to Than Tang, we got lucky today, I flustered, unsure what to do. I'd always been quiet since I was young, rarely close with anyone. This was the first time I'd become the center of attention, and also the first time I shared food with others. In stark contrast was the image of Mum still standing on the podium, coldly glaring at the boxes of sushi. Her face turned pale with fury. Just then, someone asked Than Tan, who is she? Before I could answer, Xiao Xiao chuckled. Oh, I'm her family's housekeeper. Mum gave a low, mocking laugh on the podium, but Xiao Xiao gently placed her hand on mine and gestured, No need to explain. From a short distance away, I could feel Mum's mocking gaze piercing through me. Suddenly, I blurted out, She's not a housekeeper, someone curiously asked. Then who exactly is she? My lips moved, trying to speak, but I couldn't make a sound. Right at that moment, a small head peeked into the classroom. It was Than Noan Noan. I immediately pulled her in and said loudly, This is my little sister, and she's her biological mother. She's also my dad's current wife. Silence fell. A few glances began shifting toward my mum, filled with wordless speculation. Her face turned purple with rage, and she shouted, Sheng Tang Tan! I flinched and instinctively reached out to clutch Xiao Xiao's sleeve. That action only made my mum explode with rage. She immediately stepped down from the podium, heading straight toward me. Just then, a hesitant male voice rang out, Ms. Tran, what are you doing? My mum froze, then quickly forced a smile. Principal, you're here. The principal stepped aside, revealing Ms. Ton, the homeroom teacher of Class 2. He said Sheng Tang Tan just finished the placement test. Her score qualifies her for rocket class, but her personal request is to be placed in Class 2. I just discussed it with Ms. Ton and she agreed. Ms. Ton smiled gently at me. Leave your desk here, just bring your backpack with me to class. I'll ask 2 boys to help you move the desk later. Before she could finish, my mother's voice cut through sharply. Who gave permission for her to change classes? I'm your mother. Why didn't you ask me first but went behind my back discussing things with outsiders? Her tone was a mix of interrogation and hurt. I lowered my head quietly, picked up my bag. Studying in your class makes me feel less than human. It's nothing but constant rejection. With that, I pulled Xiao Xiao and Than Noan Noan with me and walked out. Behind me, my mum's stunned voice called after us. What did you just say? You'd go that far just because of this Sheng Tang Tan? Do you even understand what it means to swallow your pride to move forward? I'm also the math teacher in Class 2. If you've got the guts, then stopped studying altogether. Just as she wished, from that day on, I never attended another one of her math classes. Miss Ton began to worry. Miss Tran is the best math teacher in the whole grade. Than Than. Don't be so stubborn. This could affect your future. That was when my dad stepped in. He had once scored a perfect math score on his college entrance exam. Later, he earned both his master's and PhD in a math-related field. From then on, he set aside 3 hours every night to tutor me. I could feel how tired he was after a long day of work, and he could feel the hesitance and distance I still carried toward him. Ever since the divorce, we'd barely spoken. A strange politeness lingered between us, formal strained. Until one night I was doing practice exams until 2:00 a.m. My stomach started to growl, so I tiptoed out to find something to eat. Just as I quietly grabbed a loaf of bread, I heard my dad's hoarse voice, "Hungry? Let me cook you some noodles." I turned around, startled, and saw him curled up under a blanket on the sofa. I quickly shook my head. "No, it's fine. Bread's enough for me." He rubbed his temples and replied wearily, "It's all right, it's quick. I just learned how to make pickled mustard greens and pork noodles from Xiao Xiao." And with that, he shot up and rushed into the kitchen like he was afraid I'd eat the bread before he could cook. I laughed, gave up on the bread, and followed him in. "Why are you sleeping on the sofa, Dad, while slicing the meat?" Dad replied. "When I was studying for college entrance exams, I used to get hungry a lot too, so I figured you'd be the same. Didn't expect you to hold out this long. It's been 2 weeks since I last saw you sneak out to eat." I was stunned. So he'd been sleeping on the sofa for the past 2 weeks, just in case I got hungry in the middle of the night. Not long after a steaming hot bowl of noodles was placed in front of me, I picked up a bite with my chopsticks, brought it to my mouth, and froze. The taste was strange. Dad looked at me expectant. "Is it good?" I forced it down and gave a stiff thumbs up. "Delicious." Excited, he took a bite and froze too. "Crap." I mixed up salt with sugar. He deflated. "Don't eat it." I lowered my head and kept eating quietly, laughing. "It's fine. The flavor is unique." Dad sat across from me, silently watching me eat. After a while, he softly said, "I'm sorry." I shook my head. "Really? It's not bad." He reached out and gently patted my head. "I'm sorry for being an incomplete father. It's not that I didn't care. But after the divorce, your mum changed your phone number. I couldn't reach you. Every time I asked to see you, she said, you were doing fine, just that you hated me and didn't want to see me. So it wasn't until I was hospitalized that he learned just how bad things had gotten." I ate noodles as tears streamed down my face. Each drop fell into the bowl. All the resentment, distance, and bitterness. In that moment, it all shattered. Dad spoke gently. "Maybe you still don't understand why I left your mum, why I chose to be with Xiao Xiao." I cut him off. "No, I understand. I understand because of that set of pink bowls bought just for me, a girl she had never even met. Because of those nutritious lunchboxes she didn't hesitate to carry all the way to school. Because she stopped watching her silly drama videos the moment I started studying. Xiao Xiao once said reading physical books gave her headaches, but lately I'd noticed her always holding one, though she usually fell asleep just a few pages in. One day, I placed the book Destiny by Tai Sung Dat into her hands and ran off embarrassed. She opened it confused and saw a highlighted quote, "Attachment and meaning are the heavy stones that anchor a person's soul." Beside it, I had written in small handwriting, "To the stone that anchors my heart." Xiao Xiao wiped her eyes and pretended to be calm. "This line is kind of beautiful, huh?" Maybe from that day on she started finding joy in reading. The study atmosphere in our home became more serious than ever before. In contrast, my biological mother grew increasingly anxious. At first she was confident I would eventually return to her class, but I never did. I even avoided her at school. During her math periods, I'd quietly go to Miss Ton's office to study alone. In the end, she couldn't take it anymore. For the first time in her life, she dismissed class early just to wait for me outside the teacher's office. Her voice was full of desperation. "Sheng Tan Tan, are you really going to cut me off completely?" What did I do to make you hate me so much? I didn't answer. She gripped my arm so tightly, her nails dug into my skin. "I can see you're getting better. You talk to Ms. Ton, you chat with your classmates. Why can't you say even one word to me?" At that point, her voice even carried a hint of pleading, but she didn't know I wasn't sulking. It was just that whenever I faced her, I unconsciously tensed up, my throat closed, and I couldn't speak at all. Seeing that she shoved a stack of papers into my hands, "If you can't speak, it's fine. Just write to me. I brought you lunch today, your favorite braised chicken with pickled bamboo shoots. Can we eat together?" My heart suddenly felt hollow. There was a time I dreamed of my mother being this gentle with me, but now that it had finally happened, I realized I didn't need it anymore. In the end, I firmly pulled my hand away, turned, and walked off without once looking back. But it seemed she still hadn't given up. Weekends were when I saw my therapist. Dad Xiao Xiao and No Unknown always came with me. After the session, we'd stroll through the mall, have lunch, and spend the day leisurely together. Eventually, we'd sit by the riverside, each holding an ice cream cone, feet swinging over the water as we watched the sunset. Xiao Xiao spoke thoughtfully. "Your mum?" I kept my eyes on the shimmering surface of the river and replied calmly, "I know. She's been following us all day." Something like that used to be unimaginable. Whenever my mother took me to the hospital, she calculated every minute, 2 hours round trip, 30 minutes waiting for the doctor, just enough time to finish one practice test. Eating, forget it. She'd buy 2 pork buns and have us eat them on the go while walking, while doing homework. Every time I begged for a break, all I got was her cold response, "Doctor, visits already waste enough time. While you're sitting here, someone else is still studying 1 day a week. That's 52 days a year. You're falling behind." But strangely, even though I wasn't studying as much anymore, my performance actually improved. Every day I felt refreshed. My memory and focus slowly returned to their best. Soon it was time for the second mock exam before the college entrance test. The first time I was still recovering, so Dad had requested I be excused. But this time I signed up myself. The day before the test, Xiao Xiao gently encouraged me. "We're just taking it for experience, okay? No matter the result, it's fine. Don't put pressure on yourself." 3 days later, the results were released. The rocket class remained at the top overall. But what shocked everyone was that the top scorer in the entire grade this time came from Class 2. Shen Chan dropped to second place. Ms. Ton was overjoyed, thrilled as she called out to me, "Sheng Tan Tan, you did amazing." When my mother saw the ranking sheet, she couldn't sit still any longer. She actively came to find me and said, "Come back to rocket class. There's only a month left until the college entrance exam. No more time for stubbornness. Can't you forgive me? Don't risk your future just to be defiant." I bowed my head, not meeting her gaze. In my mind, the therapist's words echoed, "The thing you subconsciously avoid is the source of your pressure." I couldn't look her in the eyes, but I still tried to speak calmly. So after all this time, I said the first sentence to her, "You're just afraid that this time the top scorer won't be from your class." Right, within a single day, the news of me rejecting rocket class spread across the whole school. Some whispered Ms. Tran pushed her daughter too hard, nearly ruined a gifted student. My mother screamed in despair, "She's my own flesh and blood. I can hurt anyone else, but I'd never hurt my own child." But that kind of emotion didn't make me turn back, so she poured everything into mentoring Shen Chan, as if trying to prove her choice was right, as if trying to slap me in the face with it. Many times I saw Shen Chan in the hallway, eyes red bloodshot, mumbling English essay samples to herself. I gathered all my courage and stopped him. "I'm not competing with you for the top spot anymore. Comparing and competing never brings true success to anyone." He gave me a weak smile, then quickly walked away. In his retreating back, I saw my former self, panicked, lost, and overwhelmed. Half a month before the college entrance exam, the school held an 18th birthday coming-of-age ceremony for all 12th graders, a rare occasion for everyone to relax. I sat quietly among the crowd watching my classmates laugh and play when suddenly my mother appeared, holding a bouquet of flowers, pushing through the students until she stood in front of me. "Tantan happy coming of age. You're an adult now. Let's forget all the unpleasant things from before, okay?" The crowd suddenly fell silent. One of my friends spoke up, Ms. Tran. She's only 17 this year. My mother froze as if suddenly remembering something. I curled my lips into a half smile. "Did you forget, Mum? You forced me to start school a year early so I could win at the starting line. Remember?" She was speechless, but unwilling to admit she'd forgotten something so important. She awkwardly shoved the bouquet into my hands. Sooner or later, it's all the same. Then turned and left, visibly flustered. That bouquet, I left it on the bench, didn't bother to take it with me. On the day of the college entrance exam, the whole family came to see me off. Sheng Noan was the most excited. Since the weather was hot, she had a perfect excuse to ask Xiao Xiao for more ice cream. Waving her popsicle, she cheered me on. "You're the best, sis. When you're done, I'll treat you to ice cream with my allowance." My mother stood not far away, anxiously asking around, "Has anyone seen Shenzhen?" Someone guessed, probably already went inside. My mother immediately snapped, "That boy can't even act properly at a critical moment." I even prepared a few questions that are highly likely to appear on the test. As she spoke, her eyes subtly flicked toward me, clearly hoping I'd ask to see them. But I just took advantage of Noan. Noan, being distracted, snuck a bite of her ice cream, then ran off, giggling into the exam hall. After finishing my final exam, the person waiting for me wasn't family. It was someone unexpected, Dr. Tan. I stared in surprise at the psychologist who had been with me for years. He handed me a fountain pen and smiled. "Sheng Tan Tan, congratulations! You've graduated." In psychology, graduation is what they call recovery. At that moment, I couldn't say a word. I just stood there silently remembering the darkest time of my life. It was you who stayed by my side, helping me through everything. But when the final light finally shone on my life, you turned away with a smile and said, "Hopefully, I'll never have to see you again." After the college entrance exam, my life suddenly became so light and joyful. Our whole family went traveling, sang karaoke, planted flowers, went swimming, did everything except worry about scores. Xiao Xiao said, "Thinking about it won't change anything, and usually when we least expect something, we get the most." The day before the results were announced, I received a call. "Hello, is this Sheng Than Tang? I'm calling from the admissions office of Tsinghua University." After that came a series of calls from other top universities, one after another. My dad tried to stay calm. "You've been courted by universities before." But before he could finish, Xiao Xiao shoved a steamed bun into his mouth. "Who cares? Than Tan, you're amazing. Tell me what you want. I'll buy it." Then came the results day. Xiao Xiao's eyes widened in shock. 723 points. "Oh my God, you must be the top scorer." My dad kept his modest tone. "Probably not the very top, but that's definitely a high score." He hadn't even finished when Noan covered his eyes and shoved a steaming hot dumpling into his mouth. He nearly cried from the burn. Xiao Xiao clapped and laughed. "Is this the highest score you've ever gotten?" I nodded, still a bit dazed, and replied, "Probably beyond expectations." She immediately confirmed, "Then that makes you the top scorer. Not just your own, but our whole family's top scorer." When I returned to school, the ranking board was posted. I was first in the entire grade with 723 points, while the highest in the rocket class only got 700. My mother went crazy running everywhere looking for Shen Zhen's name. "That can't be right. Why isn't he on the list?" Finally, the principal announced Shen Zhen had gone abroad for university due to prolonged insomnia and headaches from the pressure. His family was well off and couldn't bear to see him trapped in the country's education race anymore. My mother looked dazed. The way she looked at me was complicated, a mix of pride, regret, and a hint of remorse. At last she muttered, "Well done. You really are my daughter." I hadn't even responded yet when a group of reporters appeared to interview me, Sheng Tantan, as the top scorer in the entire school. "Could you share a few words if possible? We'd also love to hear from your parents." My mother immediately changed her tone, trying to pull me over to answer. But I instinctively took a step back. One of the reporters looked at her and asked curiously, "You're her mother. I thought her family was a group of 4. She followed the reporter's gaze and saw my left hand was holding Dad's hand, my right was holding Xiao Xiao's, and Xiao Xiao was holding little Noen's hand. We really did look like a family of 4. My mother panicked and blurted out, "I'm her real mother." "Right." Then Xiao Xiao gently let go of my hand, nudging me and Dad toward my birth mother. "Go on, we'll wait over there." But for the first time in my life, I held tightly onto Xiao Xiao's hand. "Mum, don't go." She froze, her eyes turning red. In front of the cameras, I proudly introduced, "This is my mum," then turned to the other woman. "That person is also my mum. I have 2 mothers. One gave me my first life. The other, when I was nothing, still loved me unconditionally. She gave me a second chance at life. And I want to say to her, Mum, I really love you." The reporters immediately turned their cameras to Xiao Xiao. "Miss, raising such an outstanding daughter, do you have any advice to share?" She looked a little flustered at first, but quickly composed herself and smiled. "1 year really can change a lot." I stopped letting myself sink. There was now a calm grace in her, the kind that came from having read books. Ever since she stopped being glued to her phone, she began reading books, exercising, traveling, even learning makeup with me. Most importantly, she began writing scripts for short plays and earned her first income from her own work. My birth mother suddenly realized the woman she once looked down on as the second wife now carried a quiet brilliance, one that had nothing to do with appearance or clothes. It was the beauty of a lotus blooming in the mud. Xiao Xiao, slightly embarrassed under the camera, spoke honestly. "I really don't have any education and I can't say anything wise, but I'll borrow someone else's words. Let flowers be flowers and trees be trees. Let's cheer for the geniuses and also applaud the ordinary ones." The interview after airing sparked a huge wave of debate. Some dug into my past, criticizing my birth mother for being too harsh. Others said I was too weak, dragging my mother into the public spotlight. But for us, that no longer mattered. The road ahead is long and full of challenges, and we have no time to care about gossip. In the end, I chose Tsinghua University. University life was very busy, but amidst everything, I still founded a free psychological support club for those suffering from depression. Once my birth mother secretly came to visit me at school. When she found out, she clearly opposed it, Tantan. "I understand you want to help others, but around you are all geniuses. You don't have an intellectual advantage. So for now, the most important thing is to focus on studying. Everything else can wait." I was busy texting Xiao Xiao, just murmuring in reply. She was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, "Now you might not realize how little love she's given you, but if you pursue academia, she won't be able to provide connections or resources. That's something I can help you with." I looked up and met her eyes cutting off her rambling, "The little love you're talking about." Once pulled me back from the brink of death. "Do you remember what happened the night you brought me to Xiao Xiao's house? Do you remember what I asked you?" At that moment, her face looked like it had been struck by lightning. Memories flooded in like a tidal wave. "Oh, what did my daughter ask? Ah, yes, have you ever checked my medicine? After that day, she never came to school looking for me again. I heard she once secretly asked Dad, 'If Tan Tan comes back, would you be willing to give her up?' Dad was shocked, unable to imagine it, because now Xiao Xiao was no longer who she used to be. She held hit scripts in her hands, her earning power growing, and had plenty of admirers, male and female alike. That summer, Xiao Xiao and I were walking in town when we bumped into my mother. They stood side by side, one full of confidence, eyes shining. the other with black and grey hair, a tired, hollow face. I heard the school had warned my mother several times about her teaching style. If she continued to encourage competition and comparison, she might be forced into early retirement. My mother looked at me with a complicated gaze, then quietly turned and left. Later, I earned a PhD and became a researcher at an academic institute. Since that year, I have regularly sent monthly financial support to my birth mother. Not much, but not insignificant either. Once she called me. Her voice humble, "I'm not short of money." She seemed to want to say something else, but the words stuck in her throat. Then she softly said, "Can you come visit me once I don't need your money?" I calmly replied, "In the past you gave me a lot, but never what I truly needed. Instead, you pushed me into the abyss." Years later, in a televised interview, I was able to calmly share my darkest days. When the host asked, "How did you get through that time?" I looked into the camera, my eyes gentle but determined. I struggled to live and fought to survive. I faced death and then found life. I allowed myself to sink in the mud, and I also congratulated myself for breaking through to the light. I want to thank everyone who fought fate with resilience to the end. I once thought my birth mother was the only person I could rely on the irreplaceable bond of blood. But it was those imposed expectations, the cold reproaches, and the unprovoked beatings that taught me not everyone who gives you life truly loves you. On the contrary, the woman my mother always looked down on Xiao Xiao was the first to hold me when I fell. The one who patiently listened even when I couldn't speak. The one who quietly brought me every lunchbox, every small warmth I longed for throughout my childhood. With her and Dad by my side, I don't have to force myself to be a pride. I don't have to try to be recognized. I just need to be myself, a girl once hurt, but who learned to stand up, learned to choose true love even if late. And I know I made the right choice. Thank you for watching Ken's Stories. I hope you enjoyed a relaxing and captivating storytelling experience. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support gives me the motivation to create more amazing content.